It makes no sense for our young people to be disconnected from these processes.
That is true.
Because they are the future, and right now, many of them are moving into the future right now. Right? So we have to bring them in on these issues, get them a part of the things that guide our country, and make sure that Jamaica really is that place of choice to live, work, raise children, do business.
And it was with this understanding that they actually organized a global youth forum, global youth leaders forum, so that young people can actually air their views, have their voices heard, so that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the leaders in the diaspora can understand how it is that we can leverage youth involvement in terms of tackling some of these issues that not only affect Jamaicans here at home, but also Jamaicans in the diaspora.
Absolutely. It has been a valuable 3 days, and luckily, you can go to Jamaica Information Services YouTube page to see a lot of the presentations that have gone before, because these are issues that we can't just allow to pass by without our weighing in on them. And if you're just joining us, where have you been? But we're happy to have you, and remember, please share. It's the final session. Please share. On Twitter, it's hashtag Jamaica55 and hashtag Diaspora Conference.
And I'd just like to say that the videos will also be up on our Facebook page, so persons can actually go back and watch those videos as well if it is that you missed anything from the conference. We've had discussions on a range of issues. We've had discussions on investment. We've had discussions on human capital in terms of health, in terms of education and training. The cultural industries has also been a topic of discussion, and for this, the final plenary session that's just about to begin, we're going to hear about potential investment opportunities in agriculture, specifically medicinal marijuana and nutraceuticals, the cultural and creative industries, as I just mentioned, information about our diversified tourism products, because tourism is no longer about all-inclusive resorts.
Not at
but
all.
There are a number of, there's space for community tourism, there's space for health tourism, and so on.
And food tourism.
Gastronomy.
Right, gastronomy.
Yes.
Absolutely. And just to reiterate the objectives of the conference, it's always good to look back and make sure that you've achieved what you set out for. The major areas of focus for the conference are centered around Jamaica's economic growth agenda. In particular, the main areas of focus were building and caring and protecting our human capital, as you were saying, Lorraine, examining the drivers of economic growth. We need to find out what works. In one of the presentations, I believe it was Michael Leachin's presentation, he stated his strategy for success. Find somebody who's done it, copy it, and don't change it. Right? And finally, promoting economic stability. The growth isn't just for now, isn't just for the next 5 years, 2 years. It is sustainable. That is what we're aiming for. And so with this partnership for growth, we have sought to develop strategic actions for partnering with and optimizing the Jamaican diaspora's human capital and financial capital. The diaspora's financial contributions to Jamaica are immense, and we saw those figures in another evaluation that occurred yesterday.
Orthopedic surgeon Dr. Kingsley Chin was another presenter who stood out for a number of people. I believe he's also a motivational speaker, and he gave some points that I believe many persons can agree with. He mentioned studying people, as Michael Leachin would have said as well, studying successful people and ensuring that you take lessons from their lives and lessons from what they have done.
Absolutely, absolutely, because that's the whole idea of partnership, isn't it? Because many of the sessions that occur, especially during the break times when we aren't streaming, people are meeting others and are making links and connections. And a big part of the conference is to have what we call knowledge transfer and technology transfer. We train many graduates, they go abroad, they form the diaspora. And what we're really working towards here is that it's a two-way street. In and out, knowledge and technology transfer, skills coming back to Jamaica for the betterment and the growth of the economy.
And of course, we spoke about gastronomy. Devon House has been designated Jamaica's first gastronomy center. And this is where the presenters are going to be tonight for Last Lick.
Yes.
So the conference is not just about business, but it's about fun as well.
Absolutely. It's a Jamaican experience And it sounds as if we are about to begin. You're hearing the voice of Mr. Earl Jarrett, who is our moderator.
So we invite you to keep watching and share.
Right, in a few minutes, it seems we are going to begin, so we have a little more time to continue giving our viewers that rundown, Lorraine. In one of especially the crime intervention and prevention roundtable discussion that occurred today, there were certain things that were covered, certain actionable plans, as we were saying, not just the theory, but actual things that we'll be doing. The 150 station Fix Up Peace Management Initiative, PMI, which handles conflict resolution and reprisal prevention, the We Transfer program, combined cadet force program, the football academy program. Many of these are not just about policing, but also social infrastructure that can help communities, in particular those with many troubled youth.
And we know it's important. Building relations between the police and communities is a major thrust of the Ministry of National Security, of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and a number of these social intervention programs. That's what they're aiming to do.
Definitely.
I'd just like to mention our sponsors, Grace Kennedy Group, J. Ray and Nephew Limited. Of course, Jamaica National Group has been a big sponsor of the Jamaica Diaspora Conference over these years. Victoria Mutual, National, and the RJR Gleaner Communications Group, and of course the Jamaica Information Service that has been bringing the conference to you live in your homes from your smartphones, your tablets, laptops, computers over these past 3 days.
And what can you do? We're going to have a lot more information, if time permits, about actionable things. But right now, the one thing we really want you to do is share. Share on Facebook, share on YouTube, like it on Facebook, like it on YouTube. Same for Twitter. And also retweet and also hashtag Jamaica55, hashtag Diaspora Conference.
And for the first time at this conference, there was the government at your service. There was the 2017 marketplace. In terms of government at your service, there were a number of key government agencies that had booths where persons in the diaspora could get information. There was the National Housing Trust, the Passport Immigration and Citizenship Agency, National Insurance Scheme, and many of the members of the diaspora always speak about investment. So there was the Companies Office of Jamaica, which would, of course, give them information about setting up a business in Jamaica. We know the government has been making that so easy with their one-stop shop for business registration, where instead of going to several different agencies, you just need to go to the Companies Office of Jamaica and fill out what is called a super form, and that's it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wow, we are joined by the Minister of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade,
Senator Kameena Johnson-Smith.
So
she, of course, will deliver the closing remarks for this conference, Theodore.
So it seems the start is near. But let me just fit this little bit of information in right before we start. One more really actionable bit of information that we got from the Dr. Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health, is regarding the Adopt a Clinic initiative, where 55 clinics are being adopted as a special Jamaica 55 legacy project. These are some of the actionable ways in which we can get in on diaspora investment and contribution to Jamaica.
There's also Adopt a School, so healthcare and education, a number of diaspora groups have been involved. All right, we're going to begin now, so please stay with us.
We now have with us our minister, and we're going to start. Again, I want to thank everybody for just being a great delegates to this conference. It has been a wonderful experience being with you for these 3 days plus Sunday afternoon, plus those who went to church services. We covered a lot, and we still have a bit more to go. So we're now going to receive the summary of the 3 days. Then we're going to have the outcomes from the various working groups: Diaspora Expertise and Philanthropy, Jamaica Global Young Leaders Engagements, and Investments. But before we get into that, there's a bit of innovation that I'd like to present to you. It's coming from the diaspora itself, and I'm going to ask Professor Lorraine Tracy, who has been working with the Education Task Force and others to share with us an idea about how we can recognize members from our community at our next conference. Professor Tracy.
Since I'm vertically challenged, I'm going to. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Honorable Minister Kameena Johnson-Smith, distinguished guests, friends of Jamaica, and my fellow Jamaicans all. In early April in Miramar, Florida, Minister Johnson-Smith officially kicked off the Diaspora Conference in a high-spirited, energizing fashion. Leo Gilling, head of the Diaspora Education Task Force, while presenting and emphasizing his vision for advancing the Jamaica educational experience, used the Jamaican adage, if fish go a river bottom and tell you say alligator have gumboil, believe him. The Honorable Minister challenged him, and rightly so. In setting him straight, she said, the saying goes, if fish go a sea bottom and tell you say shark down there, believe him. Well, I was caught in the middle, and since I'm vertically challenged, they're both bigger than me, I declared it a tie. The moral of the story is that in Jamaica, there is always more than one way to do any one thing. We are a creative people. We're the masters of innovation, and we will always strive to make everything fit everything. This is what our forefathers taught us, and this is what we strive to do. A few years ago, while serving as a principal of a school in South Florida, my teenage daughters approached me about a missions project that the school had been involved in. Some of the students were of Jamaican parentage, but not all. They raised the requisite funds and planned their trip to Florida, to Mandeville to work. Along with 22 other high school students, they spent 1 week in Florida Mandeville doing a whole bunch of really, really interesting work. They worked with the Deaf Village and really initiated some projects that help deaf families who have a staggering 70% unemployment rate. They helped them to find a vision, to capture the essence of what they were doing, and also to find opportunities to make themselves better. These children of the deaf families face social barriers and are severely at risk. These young people found a way to give them hope. This is one small example of the hundreds, maybe thousands of projects, initiatives, and programs that Jamaicans and friends of Jamaicans are currently involved in from all corners of diaspora. All of them have one singular goal in mind, and that is to improve and to enrich the island nation of Jamaica and her peoples. The single biggest challenge for many of these groups and individuals is a lack of financing to sustain the good work they're doing. These tireless soldiers are in the mission fields of philanthropy, toiling day in and day out, sometimes with very marginal support. Oftentimes, their efforts go unrecognized and unrewarded. It was from this platform of self-sacrifice and benevolence that the vision of the JDA-FEA was born. Over the past few months, a group of seasoned diasporans from the US, Canada, and the UK, led by Mr. Gilling himself, convened to develop a program that would seek out service projects like this very mission with the Deaf Village. The Jamaica Diaspora and Friends Excellence Award is an unprecedented, prestigious, coveted, highly visible validation of the work that's being done by Jamaicans abroad and friends of Jamaica, who do exceptional work and make great contributions to the development and betterment of our island nation. Our objective is very simple, yet very profound. We want to recognize, celebrate, and publicize the work and achievements of diaspora members. We want to reward and encourage excellence and superiority in the work that is being done. And most importantly, we want to provide a platform for participants to network and forge partnerships that will ensure the viability and sustainability of their work. In identifying and acknowledging the laborers, we hope to bring together all of the little powerhouse orbits of service projects and programs throughout the diaspora. We want to bring them together in a common network of goodwill and ambassadorship. Individually, we may be a force, but collectively, We are certainly a powerful movement for our beloved little country. The Jamaica Diaspora and Friends Excellence Award is broad in scope and substantive in magnitude. There are 4 categories, which encompasses the field of education, agriculture, business, trade, technology, health, and medicine, as well as ambassadorship, goodwill, and leadership. 1 exemplary project or initiative from each of the 4 categories will be selected to receive this award. First, this exemplary individual or group will be selected, 1 from each category, and they will receive a prestigious trophy as validation for their hard work. Now, hear this. Secondly, the awarding organization will be given a purse of up to US $10,000, incrementally distributed to strengthen the viability and fiscally ensure the sustainability of the program that has been working. In evaluating candidates for the Jamaica Diaspora and Friends Excellence Awards, the selection committee will be looking for a range of criteria: the significance and impact of the work that is being done, the sustainability of the project, the maturity, in other words, the track record, collaboration. Are you working alone or have you sought to form alliances with other service groups? Innovation. How creative is the scope of the project? And lastly, alignment. Are the initiatives of the project consistent with the national priorities of Jamaica? By now I know you have a lot of questions racing through your heads, but I want to finish with one thing. The first award ceremony is being planned for the summer of 2019 to coincide with the next Diaspora conference of that year. The program, selection process, and ceremony will model the highest level of probity and prestige, quite similar to that of the Nobel Prize, and will give primacy to integrity, sincerity, honor, and rectitude in all of our undertakings. The awards are open to all members of the diaspora in every corner of the globe. The window to submit applications for the awards will be open in June of 2018, almost a year. Persons can nominate their own project or be nominated by somebody else. I invite and encourage you to visit our website for more information. We look forward to hearing your feedback, and we join you with our hearts, our heads, and our hands to continue building on the solid foundation that has been set before us and prepare leaders for those who are to come after us. May God continue to bless you and greatly enrich your territory in the work you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. A great innovation. I see there's a website that's already up. It's called www.jdafea.org. A purse is agreed. I imagine you have a big donor.
Open for donation.
It's just the business side of me that immediately try to see how the whole business will work. But I'm certain the will shall be found to raise the funds. And I note the repeating words of prestigious, so therefore you want to position it a certain way. I would suggest that you ensure that there's some kind of synchronicity between your project and the GG's award so that we don't overlap. But I think it's a great way in which to recognize each other. As a people, we must celebrate each other and celebrate our successes. It's one way of affirming our identity and allowing us to have the energy to go forward. So a great idea to you and to Leo and the rest of the team. The website didn't say who they were, but I'm certain there are a number of people who made this thing happen thus far. So we will certainly want to endorse it and give it the support over time. Well, I don't know who they are. Who are the JDAFEA team members? The poet, one. Simone, good. Leslie and Summers. We got Nadine already. Kimon. Okay, great. Congrats, guys. Nathaniel Peter. Okay, well done. Thank you so much. That's what happens when people come together and speak in different tongues. You know, you get all kind of networking opportunities being created, and that's what has happened here. We're now going to move into into our program. And as I said earlier, it's been 3 good days. Do you agree? Yeah? Content was right? Yeah? Parties were right too? Yeah? Lord, you're all tired. Must be the after lunch thingy, you know. But it has been 3 great days, and we're now going to hear from Neville Ying, Professor Ying, who has been the chair and executive director of Jamaica Diaspora Institute, but also who has put together the content for this meeting, along with others, to speak to us. Neville?
IT is well queued up.
Yes, it is. We'll make a point that away.
No, they're going to move for me.
They're going to spin it for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you still excited and energized? Did I hear yes? To my right? To my left? Center? That was a straw poll. But in addition to that, we'll have evaluation of the conference. But what I'll share with you are our views and those of the rapporteurs. So anything to blame, you'll blame the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And anything to praise, you'll also praise them. All right, I'll deal with just 2 things. One, what was the purpose of this conference and how did we do with that purpose? Secondly, what promises did we make and what results we had with respect to that? When we launched the conference, we said that the purpose of this conference is that it's a key national initiative for effective engagement of the diaspora. We said that we would focus on 3 things: connecting, partnering, and facilitating. Now, how did we do? What are the results? In terms of connecting, overall, the presentations and participation in the interactive discussions were robust and passionate. In terms of partnering, there were opportunities for collaborative relationships for diaspora investments, diaspora expertise, and philanthropy, and these were initiated in the presentations and were consolidated in the special interest group meetings which you just completed. Facilitating. Attempts were made by government at your service agencies and private sector companies in the marketplace to demonstrate to the diaspora the ease of investing and providing their expertise and making philanthropic contributions. One major issue came up with respect to that, which was the impact of the IMF agreement on some philanthropic donations, and that issue needs to be resolved. Information was also provided on the work in progress being coordinated by JAMPRO to develop a portal to facilitate fast-track, one-stop shop services for business transactions. What were the promises and what were the results? #1. They said that is outdated. In my time, it was number sign. So number 1, we promised that the discussions were going to be exciting, engaging, and energizing. What was the result of that? The presentations, from all that I've heard so far, were informative, they were invigorating, and they signaled diaspora interest for intensifying partnerships for advancing the growth agenda of Jamaica. Promise number 2, there will be opportunities for inclusive diaspora involvement in Jamaica's growth agenda, and we will pinpoint how the diaspora can be involved in diaspora investments, diaspora expertise, and diaspora philanthropy. What was the result? The result was that the Growth Forum, plus the different plenary sessions, provided information on opportunities for investment, expertise and philanthropy in healthcare, education, crime intervention and prevention, business process outsourcing, redevelopment of downtown Kingston, agriculture, medicinal marijuana, cultural and creative industries, small and medium-sized enterprises, and social enterprises and tourism. The third promise was that we're going to have specific actionable outcomes, targeted initiatives for which there'll be commitment for resources and collaborative action post-conference implementation. What was the result? Actionable outcomes were consolidated in a special interest group meetings, and following this summary, the reporters will give details on these. The day of service activities, which take place tomorrow, will signal that action on specific post-conference initiative will be started, especially in the areas of health, education, crime intervention, and prevention. The fourth promise was that the diaspora would have opportunities to discuss socioeconomic issues in the host countries and identify solutions. What was the result? Issues were discussed with focus on the impact of immigration legislation, migrant rights, and healthcare challenges. Initial solutions were identified, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done after the conference to finalize these through specific post-conference initiatives. What was the fifth promise? That would have a special dialogue that would focus on the engagement of the second, third, and fourth generation diaspora members. What is the result of that promise? A special Global Young Leaders of Jamaica Forum was designed and conducted by young leaders from the diaspora together with young leaders from Jamaica, with exciting possibilities for strengthening their affinity with Jamaica and their cultural ties with Jamaica. Lastly, what were the daily highlights? And here I'll just mention some cross-cutting issues or items that came up over the 3 days. The first one was the strategic value of the diaspora to Jamaica's sustainable development, and that diaspora engagement should go beyond remittances and should cover a whole range of areas which were especially mentioned in the valuation study to be conducted by Capri. The next point that was made is that it is estimated that the diaspora contributes 23% of the country's GDP, and if we go seriously at it, we can tap a potential to increase that to 35% of GDP. The second cross-cutting area that came up was that strategic partnerships between Jamaica and the diaspora are of critical importance for the growth agenda. And lastly, there are significant issues that diaspora members face in their host countries, which Jamaica need to work with them to help them solve those problems. And these include issues like the implications of Brexit, new immigration legislation in the USA, and challenges related to social protection, health, and pensions. That was what we saw for the last 3 days. Now, hand you back to the chairman and the reporters.
Thank you, Neville. And you were well within your time frame. Thank you so much. We're going to start by hearing from the various task force groups. And we'll start with hearing from Dr. Michelle Bowen, who will speak on crime prevention and intervention. I invite her to the podium.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am very happy to be here. I've left Jamaica now for 35 years. This is my first diaspora conference, and it's a monumental moment for me, so I'm very happy for this opportunity. And I noticed I've been given a new title, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD or an MD, but I do have a law degree, and I guess in some countries they would call me doctor, but not in this one. So I'm a member of the Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, being led by Dr. Rupert Francis. And I'd like to acknowledge his very able leadership. He's really coalesced a large group of people around this issue in a very short space of time. So the actionable outcomes from our breakout session, I could be distilled to really one point. I've been given 3 minutes, so I'm going to be very brief. We had a general consensus that crime and violence is really among the it's probably the number one concern for people in the diaspora. People like me who left because of crime, and many who are afraid to return home to either retire or even to visit. So the work of the task force clearly is important. Minister Pernell Charles Jr. gave an excellent overview of various programs that the ministry is undertaking at present, and these are opportunities for us in the diaspora to support. The concern, however, was that maybe we didn't know how we could get involved, how we could engage, and so the suggestion was made, and this is the one point that we could distill the session to. The ministry has agreed or committed to creating an online platform which would give us a detailed description of the various programs that are being offered to prevent and intervene in crime issues among juveniles and adults. And we in the diaspora would be able to access that and choose what we wanted to support, being careful to make the giving process very easy. So it would be simple, clear, and easy to give. Did I exceed my 3 minutes? Not yet? Okay. So I think I'm shorter than my 3 minutes. The engagement could be in the form of volunteerism. It could also be giving your expertise, and of course in giving funding in various ways. And also the point was made that we could engage not just through the government programs, but there are other private programs that are being initiated, and it would be just as beneficial to support those that are effective as well as working through the government. So we have those options. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're now going to roll straight into healthcare, and I'm going to ask GG awardee Ms. Danica Jones to come forward.
Good afternoon. So the Canadian delegation had a very robust discussion about migrant workers and the challenges in healthcare. Ms. Patterson, president of the Jamaican Canadian Association, began the discussion contextualizing the migrant worker experience in Canada. She explained that while a number of provinces have seasonal programs that employ migrant workers, Ontario has one of the highest numbers of migrant workers in the country, with a large population of these workers coming from the Caribbean, and more specifically Jamaica. Each province has policies in place to ensure that the rights of our migrant workers are protected. However, many of these policies place employers in positions that give them great latitude and allow them to control many aspects of migrant workers' lives, which may consequently impinge on the rights of migrant workers. It was noted that many Jamaicans and many Jamaican organizations are very sensitive to these issues. However, our response is more often reactive rather than proactive, and we lack the consistency needed to advocate and push for changes in the Canadian government. Following this, I presented a brief synopsis of some of the health challenges that our migrant workers experience. Speaking from a public health perspective, I explained how social determinants of health, like employment and working conditions, expose migrant workers to occupational hazards that increase the risk of falls, injuries, vehicle accidents, and fatalities, and how poor housing and poor housing conditions like overcrowding, poor ventilation, exposure to pesticides, and lack of clean water facilities impact hygiene and sanitation. These conditions directly impact the short and the long-term health of migrant workers in Canada and increase the risk of respiratory illnesses, heart disease, and communicable diseases. Mr. Wilkes, the Consul General for Jamaica to Toronto, ended our introduction by reminding us that although information exists about the rights of migrant workers in Canada, there are gaps in our information sharing processes. Consequently, these gaps prevent migrant workers from accessing the information they need to ensure that they're properly informed about their rights, their working conditions, what is expected of them, and the role that the government plays while they're employed in Canada. He confirmed that the government does have policies to protect the rights, the safety, and the health of migrant workers. However, he also reminded us that there's still work that needs to be done to ensure that these policies are monitored regularly, especially after migrant workers arrive in Canada. Through our discussion, the Canadian delegates demonstrated how motivated they were, not only to support initiatives that will improve the experience of migrant workers while in Canada, but also to rally and to initiate opportunities that will enhance these programs, improve information sharing and access, and encourage accountability among policymakers and governments. We realize that the experiences of all migrant workers are not the same, that they're not all negative, and that there are migrant workers who benefit significantly from their employment and their time in Canada. However, we also recognize that there are a number of migrant workers whose experiences are negative and less than what was expected, and individuals who have been harmed, impacted, or affected by their work. So for the latter group of individuals, and for those who are yet to come, we as a Canadian delegation endeavor to engage, to advocate, to inform, and to support migrant workers, both individually and collectively, to ensure that migrant workers who come to Canada have the information that they need and are well positioned to achieve the goals that they set for themselves when they leave Jamaica. Thank you.
Thank you, Donica. And in the context of what she has just outlined, which is absolutely important, we have a number of Jamaican migrant workers who go to Canada on the farm work program, and it's important that we ensure their rights and their health is protected. However, in a broader context, I believe the health team also, specifically out in the United Kingdom, you had heard about an interest in and a commitment to deliver on the Adopt a Clinic program, and the UK Diaspora is committing to 55 clinics to be adopted within the UK. There's also an objective to assist in the creation of hospital administration programs to help in the administration of hospitals here in Jamaica. I believe Maxine Elliott has taken on that responsibility. Dr. Rule has also decided to coordinate fundraising to generate funds to assist in the clinics here in Jamaica. Claudette Powell is working on an exchange program and nurses training. Winston Miller will be doing an Adopt a Clinic project out of Canada. And Roy Davidson has agreed to work to help to manage the many medical missions that come to Jamaica. The government of Jamaica Ministry of Health has a program in place that does that now, but he's going to help to ensure that that process works very well. And Najaso has a very interesting idea of adopting a patient, not just a patient, but the concept of a patient at a time across the network. And these are some great ideas coming out of the health team. So I want to give them another round of applause. We're now going to hear from Dr. Fletcher, our man from Loma Linda, who is going to share the outcomes from the Education Task Force. Dr. Fletcher.
Ladies and gentlemen, our deliberations over the past 3 days have produced some actionable items I'd just like to share with you very quickly. We have at least 6 items on here, the first of which is Pledge to Build. Pledge to Build. And here we're going to be supporting in building or upgrading 14 infant or primary schools across the nation, 1 from each parish. And this is going to be done in collaboration with the Jamaican Education Trust, the Jamaica National Foundation, the Jamaica Diaspora Education Task Force, and this is part of the Jamaica 55 project that's coming out of this conference. The excitement is building. Thank you. The excitement is building, and just hold your applause for a little bit because I'd like you to indulge me. While we were discussing, there was one individual in the room, Hermie Speckles, who gave $2,000 to the project, to St. Thomas. And she challenged everybody in the room. If you could match it, anybody who could match it, she would give an additional $500. And so Caribbean Food Delights matched the $2,000. And she gave an additional $500. There was also another individual from Canada who wanted to also contribute, and he was so moved, he gave 250,000 Jamaican dollars. So the excitement is building, and on the screen you will see a card that you got earlier, Pledge to Build, Pledge to Build. And it has a website on there. And this is being spearheaded by Jamaica National, our chair, so he well knows about it, Jamaica National. And what we would like you to do is to log on to that site. And we'd like you to participate as part of this project. If everybody from the diaspora gives $1, and we have 3 million strong, we would reach our goal for this year. But we don't want to limit you. So for those of you who can give $10,000, please do. For those of you who can give $20, please do. But we need everybody to help. Everybody can pull this wagon, and so we need your help. And that's the first action item, and this is in progress, so we want you to also participate in that. The second action item is to form a STEM network. We want to support our education infrastructure by training our teachers, and we have already begun that, where we have been training a lot of teachers who have come up not only to Loma Linda, but here in Jamaica. We have at least 170 alumni from this particular program, and so we would like to form a network of STEM teachers to help them to professionally develop, provide professional development, and also to help them to share ideas. That's an actionable item. We also have another actionable item, which is an education summit in March 2018, where at this training session, we're going to be training educators in school management. We also have another actionable item, which is school pairing, where we have a school from Ocho Rios Primary is going to be paired with Sea Castle Elementary from Miramar, Florida. We have Constant Spring Primary that's going to be paired with Orioles Primary from Fort Lauderdale. And we'll also continue pairing of Northern Caribbean University with Loma Linda University, and we're looking for those other opportunities to pair these schools. As part of the ministry's outreach, they would also like us to include on this action list school buses. Students should be able to go to school, and nothing should prevent them. And so they would like us to help them with 1,000 buses, with 20 of those buses equipped for special needs children. And so we have this as an action item on our list. And also to facilitate some of our special needs children, we want to form a network of occupational therapists. We have at least 3 people as part of that network, and we're going to be expanding that. So as you leave the conference, these are some of the things that we're going to be doing. Everybody here can participate. You can participate, and we thank you because we're working on your behalf. This is the Jamaica that we love, and this is what we can do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fletcher. Great work. And in fact, I can see us achieving those goals easily. And so we look forward to working both Jamaica and your team to achieve those objectives. We will now move to the investment side of the discussions. And you recall the various areas that we looked at on the investment. And we're going to start by having Ms. Alison Smith speak to agriculture, medicinal marijuana, and nutraceuticals. Alison.
Good afternoon, everyone. We learned in the agriculture session about the importance of agriculture to Jamaica's economy, contributing up to 7% of the GDP. One of the salient points that actually stood out to me in the agriculture session was the need to remove the stigma associated with agriculture to ensure greater youth involvement. And the reason I say that is because I'm actually from the country, so I spent the early formidable years of my life in Black River, St. Elizabeth, and then moved to Mandeville, Manchester, where I went to high school. I went to Manchester High School, and I graduated from Manchester High School. And the significance of that is I was surrounded by farmers my entire life. My cousins are predominantly farmers. I'm an attorney, but my cousins are predominantly farmers, and I think it's a very sustainable industry if it's supported properly. So I think that's very important, and that's one of the things that we really do need to focus on. We talked about the impact of climate change on the agriculture industry and the need for greater resilience. We also talked about the role of the ministry with respect to creating an enabling framework, such as research and development, investment, and improved standards and quality. Some of the recommendations that we talked about were the need to create a partnership between the diaspora and the government in agro-industries and agro-parks. We also talked about the need to invest in the expansion of local produce for the tourist market, particularly the hotel industry. The need for continued research in comparatively competitive products that are able to thrive in the international market, and the need to strengthen the capacity of small organic farmers. Like many people mentioned, we've been doing organic before people knew there was such a thing, so we need to capitalize on that. We also talked, moving to the medical marijuana area, about the need to have an inclusive approach as relates to the regulation of medical marijuana. This is a topic I speak about frequently in the United States, and one of the things I don't think that we actually touched on was the need to educate, or we touched on it, but we didn't really spend a lot of time on it, and I think that the US is ahead in terms of that, because I speak quite often on the topic as an attorney, and I think the reason I get asked to speak so often on it is because the US recognizes the importance of educating people how to get involved in the industry. It's not recreational, it's medicinal, and it's totally different strains of THC, etc. So that is lacking, and we do need to work on that. We also talked in terms of recommendations about the need to sensitize persons because there is a stigma associated with marijuana, so there needs to be some sort of rebranding that's done. Again, medical, using suppositories, creams, oils, not a spliff. And then we also talked about trying to invent some creative ways to get around some of the challenges that we have. There are banking regulations, there are other issues that we need to try to overcome so that this industry can be successful for Jamaica, and then also to creatively channel diaspora investments into the medical marijuana industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a really tough area, you know. A steep hill, medical marijuana and nutraceuticals require great amounts of investments, regulations, and I think and the agriculture, very tough area. And you know what Neil Curtis is doing is commendable, and on your side, I think one of the greatest things you can do is work on the regulatory framework to see how you can influence those regulatory issues, banking and otherwise, in your various home countries. If one can deal with that, then I believe it creates a platform for the trade to take place. I want to thank the committee for thinking through the issues and for sharing some thoughts and giving a general direction as to where to go. We can now work at refining it over the next few months. In relation to the cultural and creative industries, Mrs. Gillian Wilkinson McDaniel will speak to this area of responsibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, the session discussed the creative industries as a vehicle for growth and development in Jamaica. In particular, there was great focus on the establishment of legacy programs and projects and infrastructure projects to be implemented within 3 to 5 years. The projects were framed as catalysts for development, and that would lead to the preservation of Jamaica's cultural expressions and the deepening of nationalism and the alleviation of youth unemployment. In this regard, there are several projects already on board, and I will speak to those 3 in particular. So the US Diaspora, the Northeast region, have already committed to working on and building crisis centers for women. This is along with the Victoria Mutual Group, which has expressed an interest in that project. The iconic Ward Theatre in downtown Kingston. The Ambassador Marks has been working assiduously to get investment from the diaspora on that project, and we will be working with Ambassador in pursuit of that. The third issue that was raised earlier this morning by the minister was the National Stadium and renovating and rebuilding the National Stadium. Mr. Jarrett is right here, so that is one of the areas that we are pursuing with the Jamaica National Foundation in relation to a crowdfunding project in particular, because we understand that there's a need for a platform to collect and remit funds, and we understand that the diaspora needs to be assured of the integrity of the funds. And so we are looking at this public-private partnership in order to build and renovate the National Stadium. Other members of the group and this morning spoke to issues in relation to education and training, especially at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. And we had Marie Kellier, who actually spoke to providing assistance in relation to theater arts and film. Victoria Royal this morning also spoke to the development of the private-public partnership in film and ways for us as government and the private sector and herself to actually work towards this goal. These are the areas that were emphasized earlier, and I also want to add that the diaspora expressed great interest in receiving the video that was shown this morning. And I will say that that can be found, that will be uploaded to the Jamaica 55 website, which is at jamaica55.mcges.gov.jm, and that will be done by the end of this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you, and I thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful rest of stay here in Jamaica for those who are from the diaspora. And enjoy the last lick. Last lick. Enjoy the last lick tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Culture and the creative industries, thank you so much. As you heard today, this is one of our greatest potential areas for growth and development, and I think the points laid out are big ticket items. It will require a lot of effort from all of us, but there are also some other things that are happening. There's a creative industries policy and a culture policy which is being shaped. I think it will be useful for the diaspora to lend their voices to it, because that cultural policy or culture policy helps to shape our own identity. So I think it's important that we share the draft when we can with the community so that we can get the feedback. And one of the greatest things that we can do as Jamaicans overseas is to support the events that are happening here. You know, throughout the year, apart from independence, you have a lot of music events and sport events, and it would be good if you hop on the plane. It's as quick as flying from Orlando to Miami, and come to Jamaica and participate in those events to lend support, create Jamaica as that cultural mecca, Kingston as a mecca that we spoke about. But really, thank you, committee, and thank you for the presentation this morning. We now have Corey Hyde. Corey is going to speak to us on the Diversify tourism product. Corey, let's hear from you.
Good afternoon, my Jamaican friends, family, those who waited for us while we travel in expert class down here to Jamaica. This is a general focus on the sustainability of the Jamaica tourism product through opportunities aligned with the 5 growth pillars, being gastronomy, shopping, health and wellness, knowledge, sports and entertainment. Now, underpinning that, the narrative should surround community tourism, which is the vehicle that should promote authenticity, promote, protect, and of course, preserve what is natural about Jamaica. So the opportunities for the diaspora to be involved and to support such a venture lies within this. The segue into real estate. And what that does, it encourages the investment in inland resorts, whether by timeshare or you acquire a piece of land that you make into a nature trail, or you just landscape it and have lovely weddings. So the opportunities are quite vast as it relates to real estate and the link with community tourism. The keen focus, once that product has been developed, it must be sustained by, one, merchandising, capacity building, where you can now invest in schemes that will see young people becoming tour guides within these communities. You will also have the opportunity to support quality control, and this is now supported by TPDCO, as aptly mentioned earlier in the presentation. Another focus was, or the key focus was on revenue retention. And from this, the huge opportunity for the diaspora to invest in agriculture, now becoming a stakeholder in the supply trade, where farmers will now be able to supply whether the inland resorts or the shoreline resorts, giving you the opportunity to reap some benefits and, of course, boost the economic growth of Jamaica through this tourism product. Fashion was also mentioned, that young designers, mature designers, established designers may have their lines aligned with name brands on the high street or within the community where these tourism resorts are placed. And this now signals Jamaica as a place to go and shop, feeding back in one of the growth pillars. Online localized marketing, for those who are social media savvy, this is where you can lend your skills. We'll harness the skills of the social media geniuses. And we can use this to push and promote Jamaica tourism product worldwide. This is a global opportunity for everybody to start tweeting and get on Instagram. Jamaica is all right. Artisan centers where ceramic, textile, and craft will play an important role, because once they come, they see something they like, they want to buy it and take it back. I said, this is what we got in Jamaica. Culinary ambassadors, you have the opportunity to become one, as gastronomy leads the way for the next couple of years in positioning the tourist product. Franchising, which simply means you're attracting great brands. Starbucks is coming. What next? In the diaspora, there are so many. So we can now initiate and land them here in Jamaica, so when tourists arrive at our shores, they have the sense of localization. So that is how we are pushing towards the first world status there. Exporting first world best practices, especially in solid waste management. And guess what? Volunteerism also plays a key part in that. The importance of government support was also mentioned and must be noted, given its function as the conduit for diaspora investment and various aspects of the tourism product, and by extension, its regulatory role. The diaspora really needs to know what support they can also give to advance the mandate. There's so many angel investors, and how the diaspora can help these, because the ideas exist, but limited resources to make them a reality. We can ask our neighbor what it is that we need to invest in, what can we support to advance this tourist product. They are there in their hundreds. Let's make a call. And as I wrap, ladies and gentlemen, let us not forget that one of the key points is the renewal of pride in the Jamaica tourist product, whilst we aim for the 5 million arrivals in the next 5 years so that we have $5 billion in revenue by 2021. And those were the action points and attainable goals from the session of tourism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey. Thank you. As you heard, tourism is 8.4% of the economy. The diaspora represents 15% of the arrivals. One of the biggest things you can do is come more often. Stay in the hotels more often. And I think we need to add that. I just did a quick search on Airbnb and put in Jamaica, and I see a whole heap of properties. It means that you can all become hoteliers overnight. So what you need to do is go buy a place at Richmond, and what's the other place I saw outside they're talking about today? Moorlands and places like that, and put it on Airbnb. We'll find somebody out here to manage the property for you, and you're all of a sudden you're in the hotel business. In my years in business in Jamaica, I've never seen so many foreigners in Harfordtree and Ligony on a daily basis because they're now coming to stay in Airbnb homes. So one of the things that you can do is don't be afraid of buying real estate in Jamaica, getting in the tourism business, using Airbnb. The transport business is ripe. As much as you see all them cars running up and down the road, the robot taxis, we still need something like what do you call it now, the American thing? Uber. To move people around in a nice car and so on. So what Corey has spoken to from the policy side and so on is great. But visit, engage, participate. You heard Leachin spoke about this information asymmetry. He says he make money because he knows something and you don't know something. That's basically what he said. So therefore, we are here to make sure you know everything so that you can participate in the process. And of course, the biggest thing you can do as well is to tell your friends and neighbors. In the colleges that you work, in the businesses where you work, tell them about Jamaica. And I've had the experience of our brother Sam from Jamaica. The first thing they do is come to me, Jamaica, so what you guys do now there every single day? You know, smoking and on the beach, you dispel that immediately. And they tell you about crime and all that because they're reading a certain online newspaper. But tell them about Jamaica. Tell them about your experiences. These are tangible, practical things that we can do every single day on top of what Corey mentioned. Thank you so much, Corey, for the committee's work and what you're doing there. In terms of micro, small, medium, and social enterprises, Bev Johnson, you want to come forward?
Good evening, family. Good evening, family. Good. I am given the task this afternoon to report on the outcomes of doing business in Jamaica. And I'd like to take it a little further because business is not a one-way street. There is an opportunity for us to take Jamaica to the marketplace overseas. So I asked the question, are we ready to get down to business? Whether you're looking to do business as a social enterprise, as a charity, as a micro business, or a small business, or a medium-sized business, we are inviting you, as an outcome from the conference, to let's get down to business. And by so doing, we will build the workforce for the future and the growth of this country. From the outcome, we see where JAMPRO is working assiduously to facilitate the efficiency of the business environment. Jamaica has started the part of an e-government portal, but it's not really in readiness. And one of the outcomes is that eGov becomes an interface portal where all the government agencies are interfacing with each other, so we don't have to take an aircraft to come to Jamaica just to get a TRN number. We want to do business, we want it to be done easily. JAMPRO has been playing an active role in the Advocates Policy Program. National investment is crucial. Out of the conference, we are encouraged as diaspora members to take at least 20% of our capital and invest right here in Jamaica. And it's a good thing, because my money in the UK not getting any interest. I can tell you that. And if we all wish to be honest, we know it's the truth. So here's an opportunity for us to take back some of our capital and do invest in the marketplace, and you will see the results. And in so doing, there is a confidence in the marketplace, a consumer confidence, a business confidence, and so let's start to do some work. For the export community, and we are pushing export, and I say that because I'm from the United Kingdom. I'm a Jamaican, my bed is here, but I'm talking about the UK market particularly. We see Brexit, and there's an opportunity for Jamaica to begin to export far beyond the UK, Canada, and New York. There's a wide market out there, and here's an opportunity through the Jamaica Exporters Association. The presentation was made that we need to motivate exports into the marketplace. If you come to England, 90% of what we do as a Jamaican marketplace is being sold by the Asians. It's not being sold by Jamaicans. It means that there's an opportunity for retail. And I remember from my business in the United Kingdom, the BBC came to speak to me as to how does a small business survive? It is the small businesses that survives in a recession. So let's get to work and get some business going. We need to build the workforce for future growth and development. And from the outcomes, we're talking about the automated technologies, which are necessary for the central role of the daily experiences for the future. We need the workforce to be trained, and right in this room, we have a lot of skilled diaspora members who are willing to volunteer. We need to have a setup as to where can we come and give the data about our skill set so we can help to train our Jamaicans. And of course, I want to move quickly to the digitization. To do business as a small business, you don't have to panic anymore that I don't know what to do. If you don't understand marketing, there's a virtual world out there. If you don't have the capital to start an office with staff members, get into the virtual world. You can have an office for which you pay just for the time you need to sit there to have a meeting and run your business from your front veranda or your study at home. So there is so much opportunities that we can get into at this time, and I would encourage us to look at doing business in Jamaica. I did it, so can you. And our innovation, so if you have a concept, we need to begin to speak to each other. The result of mine was the Hillary Clinton Foundation Award for Innovation and Excellence. Because where we are in the world, we're seeing opportunities that are not existing right here in Jamaica. Take it, bring it, start your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Beverly. Invest in Jamaica. You get point-something% interest in England. Invest in Jamaica. Lots of financial institutions, they're all over the room here. Stock exchange was here talking earlier. At least at that entry level, you can. And then as Bev says, we can look at other things going upstream. And then there are the social enterprises that we heard about. So fantastic opportunities. Nathaniel Pete, the young person.
Wow. All right, we had the youth forum. It was incredibly dynamic. Everyone repeat after me. Say mobilizing. I don't believe you. Say mobilizing.
Mobilizing.
Motivating.
Motivating.
And activating together.
Activating together.
We're strengthening connections, working together, growing as leaders. One thing that has come out of the Future Leader dialogue is that many of the young people within the movement of the future leaders are already leaders. When you think about youth, you don't often associate that with huge companies. Example, Mark, who created Facebook at age 19, or even Bill Gates, and these guys were teenagers when they created their businesses. And so one of the key areas in which we shaped this with a core group from Canada, the United Kingdom, and also the United States, we decided that we wanted to discuss key things that relate directly to us. One of those things is just picking up from what Beverly Johnson was speaking about, which was entrepreneurship. Even speaking about what Corey was speaking around, which was about cultural connectivity through tourism. And so we have coined the term now and tried to shift the movement away from future leaders to speak about it in more a global context, speaking like this title being the Global Young Leaders of Jamaica. which now integrates then us and connects us in line with the way the rest of the world is speaking in terms of the Global Entrepreneurship Network, in terms of Global Entrepreneurship Week, in terms of global this, global that. So now we, as young Jamaicans, are on the same page. We looked at the challenges that Jamaicans living here experience with business. In addition to that, the challenges that those living in the diaspora experience difficulties. We discussed coaching, mentorship, the access to finance, partnership. Tanisha Westcar, the future leader, in fact I should say the global young leader of Jamaica that sits currently on the advisory board, also presented on deepening cultural ties. And we showcased several projects that the youth diaspora is doing in Jamaica, highlighting the programs with the JCDC partnership with the Festival Queens, whereby the young people are supporting financially social programs on the ground here in Jamaica with cultural connection, youth empowerment, youth crime and violence, and funding those projects, in addition to the advocacy that has been done in the UK Parliament with the Jamaica Youth Forum, where young people then came together in the UK Parliament to actually discuss issues of governance and advocacy. We looked at mentorship as it relates to youth crime and violence in particular, whereby young people are now in a position here in Jamaica where they are very talented and have the no fear attitude. They have this tenacity, this push against and a resistance against the norm, which are all traits of entrepreneurs, traits of individuals that have the ability to become academics and people that of excellence. Through the dialogue, we had outcomes and actions. And so with the entrepreneurship dialogue that we took, we are going to, through the investors amongst the young leaders, going to provide a template for investing into young businesses here in Jamaica. That's from the perspective of entrepreneurs within the global youth network of Jamaicans that have businesses that have the ability to invest in younger companies. Then it's also providing the template in what Jamaicans here living in Jamaica that have businesses and those that are in the United Kingdom, United States, and Canada, developing a template of what it needs to look like to be invested in. And by creating that, we're then having individuals looking correct for investors and also investors looking correct for the people that want the investment. We're going to take this to a digital level where we're going to create and build a platform for cross-production of companies and services. That basically means where you've got, like example, we've got the Sweetie business that was incubated by the Branson School of Entrepreneurship outside that now needs to connect into the diaspora region for export. There will be a connectivity through a database whereby the youth diaspora will have individuals in that sector that might be able to assist them to connect. We're going to develop a database of social entrepreneurs. I'm going to move through quickly as the time is short. Yes. All right, there. We're going to form also the a work group to look at global mentoring and also build a pilot program with the Hope Mentoring Project, which works with young people at risk here in Jamaica. And go to the last, that's the last slide there. So please do join us in this movement. We have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is the Global Young Leaders of Jamaica. Please connect and share, and let's get this thing moving. Support the young people. We are the future. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost at the end now, and just wanted to tell you that the day of service, that you can still register to support the 30 projects tomorrow, and you're invited to participate in those projects. Jennifer Calder can be called at 878-3778. for you to register to participate in the Day of Service projects. 878-3778. Jeanette Calder. For many of you, you may not have known, but once you registered, your name went into some pot. And there are some prizes that have resulted from that. And there are 2 tickets from Caribbean Airlines. Not quite sure where to and from. They're, whichever destinations they fly, imagine. Weekend for 2 at Jamaica Pegasus. And then we have 2 consolation prizes from Grace Kennedy. We'll start with the first prizes. The names selected by randomly are from Canada, Mr. Brian G. Moses. Is he here? Oh, and the 2 tickets? Oh, I said I read it wrong. The first prize and main prize are the 2 tickets, and the weekend for 2. And the winner is Mr. Brian Moses. Hope he's not gone back to Canada. No Brian Moses in the room? What up, Daniel? Well, he won. And so we'll ask someone from Canada to collect the prizes for Mr. Brian Moses. Thank you, Consul General. Consul General Mr. Wilkes will receive the prize from the Minister and from Caribbean Airlines. Is Caribbean Airlines right here? No? Well, from the Minister. Mr. Wilkes? Thank you very much, Mr. Wilkes. Make sure it is delivered safely to, to Mr. Morgan. We also have Neville Ying will present 2 consolation prizes to Nadine Anita Russell and Delroy Walker, who have both run gift baskets from Grace Kennedy. That's you? Yeah? No, not for you, not for you, not for you. You're gonna take back rice too. Look this way as well too. And where is Delroy Walker? Delroy Walker not here? Oh, far away. Do you stay in boat now? Where's Data? Oh. Neville? Thank you very much. Just to tell you that tonight there's something called Last Lick at 8 p.m. at the East Lawns of Devon House. The buses will be leaving the hotels at 7:30 p.m. It's hosted by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and Devon House Development, and we'll have the Fab Five Band. There's a conference evaluation form which will be sent to you by email. We'd be grateful if you could complete it so we can get some intelligence as to what to do for the next conference. I just want to again thank everybody for participating. The fact that we met itself is an achievement. The fact that we are all committed to Jamaica and its people and our development is an achievement. The conference is a great one. One of my greatest takeaways will be the fact that the Capri studies pointing to the fact that the Jamaican diaspora contributes some 24% of our GDP, which makes it probably the largest contributor to GDP across the entire country. We're one of. And so that's an important bit of news that we need to work with going forward. In closing, I just want to thank all the people who made this happen, the ministry and the minister for convening the necessary working teams to make it happen. The working teams, Ambassador Saunders, Ambassador Gilbert Roberts, Lincoln Downer, all for making it happen. And more so to thank you all for investing in this project. Thank you so much, and I hand you over to the minister. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I spoke at the opening ceremony, I spoke of my expectations, not only for actionable outcomes, but for the connections, the intangibles that would happen in the days to come. And I have to say that the last 3 days have far exceeded my expectations. For this, I want to thank you all for making the effort to come here to Kingston and to bring with you your positive energy and your commitment to Jamaica while we now celebrate 145 years of Kingston as our capital city. It was very important for us to share with you that we are serious about getting things done, and that we're serious about getting things done with you. It's why we tried on the panels to ensure that we had government, diaspora, and experts all together, sometimes overlapping with responsibilities. It's why we tried to ensure that matters of interest to you and matters related to human capital, health, education, national security, creative tourism, creative industries, tourism, medical marijuana, things that came back to us from you as matters of interest, together with economic growth and job creation, our ways in which we can partner and cooperate. You can build wealth while investing and building Jamaica. So I mean, it's, again, the content, I have to thank Professor Ying and his team who pulled together the content. Have to thank Ambassador Saunders, Mr. Downer, my PS, and all of the hardworking staff at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade who have, together with our stakeholders, our legacy partners, taken care of all of the details. I mean, when on Sunday evening you're giving a speech that you have 700 registrants, and then you're leaving the function and here you have 1,200, and things still manage to work out. You have to say thanks to the team for pulling things together, for smoothing over. And thank you for your patience on Monday morning when we had some logistical hiccups that had to be smoothed out. I think we've done great today. We've done great over the past 3 days. We've brought in an ambulance. And I have to say thanks to the barrister who raised it to our attention again. I had met Mrs. Leslie, Mr. and Mrs. Leslie in one of my diaspora engagements in London. And when she told me of her plight, I had started from then to engage Dr. Tufton. And it's just sorry that it took so long. And it's part of what we need to do better in terms of sharing the information about how to bring things in, what to bring in, and what the costs are, because giving still needs to follow a process sometimes. And it's important that we know that things will work smoothly when a process is engaged, and it means we also need to make our processes more accessible, and simplified. So there's work to do on both sides, but we are getting it done. So just want to thank you for having raised it and having brought both the problem and the solution to public attention. Nathaniel spoke about the matters of the future leaders, and if you notice, every time he said future leader, he had to correct himself and refer to young leaders or youth leaders. And that is something that came back to me again through my diaspora engagements over the last few years. So in the Diaspora Advisory Board meeting, which I convened on Sunday, we agreed that we would change the term future leaders to youth leaders, and that we're going to increase youth representation on the Diaspora Advisory Board from 1 youth leader per country to 1 youth leader per region, as the other senior members are represented. So I wanted you to know that we're hearing and we're taking action. We're not just talking, we're actually trying to change the dynamic and to increase and improve our engagement. We hope that you're pleased by the government at your service. I know people got their passports in 1 day, their birth certificates in 1 day. I learned that RGD values the diaspora more than us who live here, because they will deliver to you, but we need to find ourselves there. So that's something I raised with them as something they need to think about as well, that we should all be on a level playing field. But the point is that they were delivering services for you. We thought it was important to ensure that all the things that you needed to get done were available to you, and we're happy you were able to use the services effectively. Again, in thanking you all for having made the commitment and come here, and thank you also for putting your trust in us that we are going to put systems in place to follow up on the actions that have been agreed today. Some specific, measurable, and actionable, some less tangible, but can be worked on when we next meet. So I want to thank you for all of the suggestions that have been made. The most important thing that I have to do before I take my seat, however, is to thank our chairman of conference, Earl Jarrett. Literally, this would not have been possible without him. Because when I was traveling, making a video message to send to a stakeholder meeting, Earl was pulling the meeting together, chairing, really being the brains behind the organization, bringing his vast managerial skills to the fore. And I think we've all, each and every one of us, benefited from his excellence. So I want to thank you again, Mr. Jarrett. Really appreciate it, sincerely. So I won't keep you much longer because I know you all have to go and fix up and put on the fancy dandan for later. For last lick, we hope you'll enjoy historic Devon House, one of my favorite places in Kingston. Nothing about it is, everything about it is to be valued and treasured. And we hope that it will set the right note for you to go back home with treasured memories of how you've spent the last few days here with us. And for those of you who are staying over as well, I hope you enjoy a fantastic Jamaica 55. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Corey Hyde has reminded me to remind you that when you're choosing your project tomorrow, there's one called Sunday. Oh, sorry. Those staying over. This is the first ever hike to Mystic Mountain. Sunday, July 30th. It's to support his projects. Is that a cost? $65 cost. I think the flyers are in your kit. So let's support it. Again, thank you all. Travel home safely. Enjoy the party night. By the way, Devon House was built by a gentleman by the name of Stibel. He was one of those gentlemen who went to Panama to work and to make money, and he came back and invested in that property. One more thanks? Yes.
I have one more very important thanks. Lisa Ogilvie, the project manager, and her team. Oh my goodness. We're going to elevate her to be with Earl in terms of where our thanks need to be. Lisa, thank you so much. You are awesome. Everything is awesome. Your team is fantastic. Thank you again.
And I want to endorse that. Lisa has been fantastic. Well done, Lisa. Good job, great job. So enjoy Devon House. It's one of our diasporans who built it. Enjoy it.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Jamaica 55 Diaspora Conference, another successful conference, now has ended.
That it has. Little bittersweet. It has been a wonderful 3 days. All good things come to an end. And now there's many actionable items that the delegates have left here with. And we know that partnership for growth wasn't just a theme. It was a reality for this conference.
And among the outcomes that we heard about, greater commitment to hospital administration programs, more fundraising activities, nurses training programs, greater management of medical missions to Jamaica. We know every year we have several medical missions, so members of the diaspora have committed to greater coordination and management of these medical missions. And of course, Theodore, tomorrow, the delegates, it doesn't end here for the delegates. They'll actually be going out into Jamaica for the Diaspora Day of Service. You want to tell them a little bit about some of those projects?
Well, I'll tell them some. You'll tell them some. We'll share them. All right. Let's talk about a fixer-upper project, a basic school beautification. They'll be painting a mural. They'll be doing some landscaping. And the they is Do Good Jamaica and the Breads and Jakes Hotel. They are out of the United States of America. The location for that one is Treasure Beach Basic School, and that's in Treasure Beach, St. Elizabeth. They need about 10 volunteers. Anybody out there?
West Haven Children's Home in Hanover will also come in for attention, and that will be coordinated by Loving Hands Children's Network out of the United Kingdom, spearheaded by Miss Antoinette Page, who is herself a Jamaican living in the United Kingdom.
And this one is from the Jamaica Middle East Diaspora, right? We had several of those delegates with us during the conference, so this one deserves special mention. And this one is a youth development forum, topic being empowering the nation's youth for the global market. And this one occurs in Kingston, and there should be further details about the exact location, but look out for it. Based on the description here, they are targeting high school graduates, university students, and recent university graduates. And the objective is to jumpstart their career development. Need I say more?
Of course, the projects have some broad categories. There's education, health, youth development, community development, and under community development, some members of the UK Jamaica Diaspora Crime Prevention and Intervention Task Force and other delegates will be going into the prisons to speak with correctional officers to just see the conditions of the prisons and to determine how Jamaicans in the diaspora can actually assist in this regard.
That should be an enlightening tour. Another such one, we've been hearing about taking care of our human capital. A part of that is ensuring that there's food to eat and good, organic, healthy food to eat. So one of the projects led by the Jamaica Diaspora Agriculture Task Force out of the United States of America is the Day on a Farm project, which will occur in St. Thomas. A farm tour will happen demonstrating organic farming on several small farms. We know that there will be actionable takeaway from that, Lorraine.
And we actually have a list of 21 projects here, but the last I heard it was about 26 projects that will be executed tomorrow. So we know the delegates are looking forward to that. They're looking forward to going out into the communities and to making an impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, well, the number might go up. Who knows? Based on the level of excitement, the forums that have occurred. And I know that what they'd really want us to say right now is be willing to volunteer. Come on out. Remember the theme. We've been stressing it so much. Partnering for growth. Both Jamaicans here and abroad.
And the organizers of the conference have built fun into the activities as well. We heard about Last Leak, which is happening this evening, and the Diaspora Conference is happening at a time when Jamaica is celebrating our 55th anniversary of independence. So a number of cultural activities are planned. So we know that delegates who are here or who came for the Diaspora Conference will be participating in a number of those celebratory activities as well. So once again, we just want to thank you for joining us, for watching the live stream of the Jamaica Information Service. We want to say thanks to our hardworking team of cameramen, our social media personnel, to our CEO, Mrs. Donna Marie Rowe, and everyone.
Producers.
And our very hardworking producers.
Absolutely.
For making this happen.
Lorraine, do we thank ourselves?
I think we just say our names. So I'm Lorraine Mendez.
And
it has been my pleasure hosting this live stream for you.
And I'm Theodore Henry. Obviously, it has also been my pleasure working alongside Lorraine and bringing you all of this wonderful information. It has been a great 3 days.
Thank you for choosing the Jamaica Information Service.
All right. Walk good.